Hey, what's up guys? Bajheera here. So this is going to be part of my 5.3 Warrior Guide or Warrior Tips series. Last time we did a 5.3 gemming video, and now this time I'm going to go over my keybinds and the macros and abilities that I have in those keybinds, because I think that's the easiest way, is to just sort of scan through every bind I've got, show you the corresponding ability or macro, and hopefully that'll help you guys out. Now, before we even begin, my binds are kind of weird. I don't necessarily recommend copying these binds exactly. I do recommend you guys finding binds that work for you. But a lot of these macros that I'm going to show you are macros that I've had for as long as I've been playing a warrior in some form or another. And these macros will be really helpful for you guys if you're starting a warrior, or if you've been playing a warrior for a while and want to maybe optimize a little bit of your ability usage. I think these macros will help you out. So let's get to it. In my very first keybind, I'm going to start way here at the bottom. I have, this is my middle mouse button click. And I've destroyed a lot of mouses by clicking the mouse wheel too much, so I've tried to wean myself off using this bind, so I've also got it over here. It's the exact same ability. And you'll see that's the same case with my alt middle mouse button click right here. So I have these two buttons are the same ability, they're just in different places. So I use this a lot just to sort of watch the cooldown. Sometimes I'll still use the keybind, but not as often as anymore because I destroy all these beautiful mice that I have. But regardless, this keybind, middle mouse button 3 or Naga button 1, corresponds to this macro, which is pretty simple. If you're in range to charge, you'll charge, and if you're in range to hamstring, you'll hamstring. And I also have cancelaura Bladestorm in there. If I ever do use Bladestorm, I want to be able to cancel that Bladestorm and go right into my charge and hamstring as soon as I get in range. So it is a 2-button press. I've seen some people commenting in previous videos like, it doesn't work. You know, I have to press it twice. It's like, no, that's the way it works. It's interesting because you can put abilities that are on a global cooldown together. In this case, because charge is a ranged ability, so once you charge into range, you press the button again and it'll hamstring. I think it's just an easy bind to have. So it's also your hamstring key. You don't really need to see the cooldown on a hamstring because you can use it whenever you want. So the next button, moving right along, is Shockwave. This is just a straight up stun ability. I will put this as Bladestorm or Dragon Roar. If I'm using either of those two abilities, I will put it in this spot. But Shockwave is my bread and butter for PvP, so I stick with that. This is my throw macro. This is in a shift middle mouse button click. Whenever I need to throw, you know, my heroic throw weapon at somebody, or you know, just use the 130 damage auto attack throws. This is the button that I use. I have it set to cast heroic throw, and I have /cast exclamation mark throw. That used to be necessary for when you could, when spamming throw would kind of make it not work. I just left it in there because it doesn't really seem to affect anything, and so there we have it. And I have the G91 land shark in there too, because people get out of range. You can blast them with, like, you know, 11k worth of rocket. Sometimes you get a kill, and that's always good for a couple laps. But that's my throw macro in shift middle mouse button 3. As you can see, I wasn't lying about my keybinds being weird, and it's about to get weirder. So my Mortal Strike is in middle mouse, or just not middle mouse wheel, just mouse wheel up is my Mortal Strike. Mouse wheel down is my Overpower. Alt mouse wheel up is my Colossus Smash, and alt mouse wheel down is my Execute. So as you can see, I've got a lot of my main abilities on my mouse wheel. That just allows me these are abilities that you're going to be using pretty much as whenever they're up. So there's a lot of spamming involved, so you can just sit there and roll your mouse wheel up and down as necessary, and you'll be able to get your attacks off in really, really fast succession, and even queue them up before you actually have the chance to use them. So nothing too crazy here. These are just the keybinds that I feel comfortable with, and they've stuck with me for a long time. So this is Shift Naga button 1, which is it's end according to Bartender, but I guess it makes sense, because if I pop the one shot on you, it's the end. So anyway, this macro is pretty much, it's not going to be much of a surprise to you guys. It's just everything you've got. Show tooltip Recklessness. I have a potion of Mogu power in there just in case I happen to have one on me and I'm doing PGs. It'll pop that. So it's going to pop Avatar. It's going to pop Recklessness. I have /cast Bloodbath in here in case I'm spec'd into Bloodbath, which I'm not at the moment. So either way, it'll cast whatever your damage cooldown is. It'll cast Skull Banner. It'll use your offensive DPS trinket, and it will cast Shockwave for me. I like to have Shockwave. Some people will have Colossus Smash in there. I used to have Mortal Strike, Heroic Strike in there, but now I have Shockwave just to make sure that when I am popping my DPS cooldowns, I usually will try to correspond that with a stun. And so I want that Shockwave to be affected by my cooldowns, and I don't want to have any sort of lag between hitting 2 buttons between cooldowns and Shockwave, so I've just got my Shockwave right in there, and it'll pop cooldowns, hit them with a huge Shockwave, and then you can proceed to Colossus Smash with your cooldowns up, Mortal Strike, Overpower Slam, that sort of thing once your cooldowns are up. So that's my essential get shit on, aka one-shot macro right there. This is my shield wall. It's on my button C. As you can see, I've got my defensives lined up on ZXC. That's pretty easy to press. So my shield wall is pretty simple. It puts me in defensive stance if I'm not already in defensive stance, and of course it shows the tooltip for shield wall. It'll cancel my Bladestorm if I'm spec'ing a Bladestorm. It'll cancel my Recklessness, which it's already kind of too late if you are wrecked, because there is a little bit of a downtime between when you can have Recklessness up and shield wall, but it'll cancel it for you. And it'll equip your one-hander, equip your two-hander, equip your one-hander and equip your shield, and it'll cast shield wall for you. Pretty straight up. So instead of moving over to the Naga buttons, I'm just going to go over here because as you can see, these are a lot of my keyboard keybinds except for the mouse wheel stuff. And then I have like my Naga binds laid out over here and a little bit over here too. But just to stay on track, I'm going to hop right over here to the Victory Rush macro, which is on my button 1. So whenever you kill somebody, you want to get that Victory Rush going. Here's what it does. It will show your tooltip for Victory Rush. It'll cancel your Bladestorm. I also have cancel Bop in here, just in case somebody is trying to bop me to save my life, but I'd rather Victory Rush anyway. And it's just an easy key press to take a bop off you if your friends are trolling you or something. And it'll cast Victory Rush for you. My Spell Reflect macro, this is kind of interesting. I think the way you write this macro will actually affect how effective the macro is. So I have Show Tooltip Spell Reflection, and before I even do anything else with this macro, I am casting Spell Reflect. That helps you get a really, really fast Spell Reflect where you may not otherwise have gotten it if you try to switch your weapons first. So have your /cast Spell Reflect in the beginning, and this is canceling my Bladestorm in case you wanted to pop out of a Bladestorm really fast and Spell Reflect something. But if somebody's casting any sort of CC on you in Bladestorm, it's not really going to help. But anyway, if you wanted to affect like a Shatter or something, but regardless, this also is stop casting. This is in case you were casting a Slam back in the day. If you're casting anything like you're trying to mount up. Who knows what sort of cast you'll be doing as a warrior. But it'll stop any sort of casting so you can instantly Spell Reflect. And then at the bottom of the macro you have your one-hander and your shield. And that sort of helps really make that Spell Reflect fast. That's in my number, just regular old keyboard 2. On my number 3 button, I've got Zerker Rage, nothing fancy about that. That helps you break fears, helps you break saps, gouges, that sort of thing. Just regular old button 3. On number 4, I've got my Intimidating Shout. It's a great CC to use on DPS if you're in trouble, or a healer if you want to line up CC. But I've got a better macro for you for fearing a healer a little bit down the line. On my button R, I've got my Heroic Leap. On F, I've got a macro that will put me in Battle Stance, Battle Shout, and equip my two-hander. And I'll show you that right there. So show tooltip Battle Stance, cast Battle Stance. Equip set PvP arms. Now I've got a set with all of my PvP gear, and I've called it PvP arms. And you can't really change gear in Arena, but it will equip your two-hander for you. And I think this is just an easy way to do it, rather than having to switch out your weapon all the time. Whenever you get a new weapon, you write it in there. But that's how I do it for this one. This will also cancel Bop, and it'll also cancel Freedom. This is a button you can press if you've got Freedom up and you don't want a mage to steal it. You can cancel your Freedom to make sure the mage doesn't get it. So you can get Freedomed out of a route, press this button real quick, and that will cancel the Freedom for you. It'll also cast Battle Shout. In G, I have my D-Stance, which does the exact same thing as this, except it will... I'm actually going to make sure that I have this in there for that D-Stance macro, because I use D-Stance more now. But this will do everything that it did before. Only difference is it will put you in defensive stance rather than battle stance. So I have a feeling that I don't have Freedom in there, but I do, like a boss. All right, good job. Good job, Bajheera. And like I said, it's the show tooltip, defensive stance, cast defensive stance, equip your PvP set, and do everything that we talked about before. Cancel Bop, cancel Freedom, and it will cast Battle Shout. Now, if you're playing with a Hunter or somebody that already gives you an attack power buff, I recommend you putting Commanding Shout in there. Works the same way. So, next button over here is my Trinket. I have that bound to T, and like I was talking about before, right here, this is X along my defensive cooldowns, and this is die by the sword. So that'll help you survive casters due to the 20% less damage taken, and it will increase your parry rating to 100%. So if you are taking a lot of damage from a melee, just make sure you're facing them with die by the sword, and you'll parry everything they've got. So we're gonna move up again. This is my Pummel. That is on Alt mouse, not Alt mouse button, just Alt keyboard button 1, straight up Alt 1, and that will cancel Bladestorm if I'm Bladestorming and cast my Pummel, straight up. Show tooltip Pummel, do what I said. This is my Shattering Throw. I think it's, for some reason, I think it's a macro. I don't think it does anything special. Oh, it'll cancel my Bladestorm. I see, I've got a lot of things canceling my Bladestorm, so you can hop out of your Bladestorm instantly and do what you need to do. I don't spec for Bladestorm anymore, but just in case I did, I left it in the macro because it doesn't really slow it down or anything. Well, actually, it might slow it down just a bit. Like, I don't know. Who knows? People will probably be like, it actually does slow it down by 0.000001 of a second, so you should probably take it out. But I'm not worried about it. And this is my, so that's Alt number 2. Alt 3 is my Focus Shatter. So if you're playing against the Paladin, you've got him on a focus target, you can, and he bubbles, you can just press this button real fast, it'll cancel Bladestorm if you're Bladestorming, and it'll take off that bubble so you can continue to CC him and hopefully land a kill on the target. So these two macros are interesting. This macro was sent to me by a guy on Twitch, and his says he wants me to share it with everybody. He says it was made by Toki of Sargeras, tested by Bag of Shrimp Sargeras, and Choco Milk Kid of Sargeras. So these guys came up with a really clean way of writing this macro that everybody will probably have. As a warrior, I mean, everybody's got a banner intervene macro, but I like the way they wrote it. It was really clean, it was really simple, and it did only exactly what you wanted it to do. So you'll see I have a lot of different intervene macros, but I've made 2 separate macros just for these because you can use this demoralizing banner as a defensive cooldown, and you still have that option, but if you press it twice, it'll intervene to it. So I'll put all these macros in the description because this one's pretty complex. But these are really crisp ways of intervening to your banner, because you press it once, it'll give you the option where to drop it. You click it, you click wherever you want to drop the banner, you press the button again, and it'll intervene right to that banner. So it's a really smooth, quick, easy way of intervening to your banner, which, like I said, you can write this a lot of different ways. I like the way these guys did it, so I'm going to use that as well. That's all it does. It drops your banner, and then you intervene to it on the next key press. And so I've got one for my demoralizing banner, and I've got that bound to Alt R, and then I've also got one for the mocking banner. The exact same macro, you just put in mocking wherever demoralizing was, and I put that in just regular old button 5. Now, as we go along, well, actually, one more thing. Again, I want to make sure that you guys know who sent that to me. That was Toki of Sargeras, Bag of Shrimp of Sargeras, and Choco Milk Kid of Sargeras. So thank you for sharing that with me. Really glad that you guys did all the work to find out a really clean, crisp way of doing that. So thank you guys. Moving down the line, these aren't actually bound to anything, except for this one is, in case you wanted to drop your skull banner on its own. Like if you didn't want to pop all your cooldowns, but like your mage was setting up a shatter and you wanted to modify his crit, you could do something like that. I just have that one bound just for utility, and you can intervene to it if you had no other option, But whatever, I thought that binding this separately could have some utility. I rarely have ever used it, but regardless. These are really just to see the cooldowns individually of the big cooldown, which is Recklessness. So I've got these 3 things all in one macro, which is my Recklessness macro, but I still want to know the cooldown, say my trinket, because I can use my trinket every minute, and I want to make sure and I do that. So these are just sort of visual binds so I can see the cooldown, much like these are down here. And then, of course, we have the Rallying Cry macro, which will do a lot of things that will help me survive. I used to have this bound to, I used to have Enraged Regen over there, but now I've got Rallying Cry because I'm using Second Wind instead of Enraged Regen. And what that'll do, it'll pop Rallying Cry, it'll use Commanding Shout, which will give you a little bit extra health to survive. It'll use a Hellstone if you've got it. If you're in a BG and you've got some healing potions, it'll pop that. And if you're in a BG, or I guess RBG as well, you can also use your Alliance Battle Standard. So you'll get like 600k health or something off of this. And that'll help you survive in case you're trying to like 3v1 or something. Just a neat little macro. Over here, these are my binds on my Naga. And these binds, like I said, this first one is just a regular old charge hamstring macro. Naga button 2 is my focus pummel. And what that'll do is it'll do a lot of, pretty much just the same as what we did with my regular pummel. And that will just interrupt my Bladestorm, and you have a target equals focus pummel. So that means that it will pummel your focus target. So you're hitting their partner. You see them trying to catch a heal, you just strafe over to them. Make sure you're facing them enough to pummel them. Throw that pummel over there and get back to killing their partner. On Naga button 3, this is where I have my heroic strike bound. It is a macro that will charge Mortal Strike and Heroic Strike. So you charge to them, second key press, it will Mortal Strike and Heroic Strike them. I don't use this terribly often because Heroic Strike is a lot of rage for not a lot of damage, but I still do have it bound, and I have Mortal Strike in there because if I'm using Heroic Strike and Mortal Strike is up, I want to use Mortal Strike as well. You always want to be using Mortal Strike whenever it's up, so that's just in there for convenience. And I would rather have, since you can use an ability that is on the global cooldown with Heroic Strike, which is off the global cooldown, I want to make sure Mortal Strike is the ability that I use. So that's why I have that in there. And that is on Naga button 3. On alt Naga button 1, I have my Focus Sphere macro. This will cancel your Bladestorm, and now it will focus charge your focus target, and it will focus Intimidating Shout them. So if you're in an arena match, you see a healer casting a heal, you want to focus charge that heal, and then you can focus charge it. On the second key press, it will fear them if you wanted to fear them as well. So, or if you're within fear range, you don't actually want to charge, you can just walk over to them, press this button, and it'll fear them. So this is just a good focus interrupt and a good way of having the focus sphere on there as well. So it gives you some options in terms of what you want to do depending on how close you are to them and which abilities you want to use. Now, alt Naga button 2, this is my Shockwave, regular old Shockwave, no cooldowns associated with it, but you still want to be able to stun even if you don't have cooldowns up. Now, alt Naga button 3 is Sweeping Strikes. This is an ability that I find myself being able to use terribly often, but if I do have a lot of rage and I'm stacked up with, in an arena match, I've got some pets nearby me or I've got 2 melee nearby me, I would rather use my rage to Sweeping Strikes than Heroic Strike because I think it will deal more damage. So I've got that bound just in case. Now, Naga button 4 is my Slam, and it is a macro, but it doesn't really do anything fancy. I've just got charge in a lot of these things in case, like, I'm trying to slam a mage and he blinks away, I can just keep spamming that slam button and get to him and slam him. But oftentimes you want to keep a hamstring up. This is, I don't know, it's just kind of a fun macro to have charge in there as well. Just one button rather than having to press 2. Makes it a little bit easier, maybe a little bit faster, and sometimes that really matters. On Naga button 5, I've got my Disrupting Shout. It's that AoE interrupt, like an AoE pummel. It's pretty cool. I really like this ability a lot, and I've been using it to pretty good success recently, and it's I've got that bound to Naga button 5. Naga button 6 is my Thunderclap. Alt Naga button 4 is my Intervene to my DPS partner, and it will also just intervene to whoever's around you, like if you're in a BG. So I've got this bound to Reed's PhD because I was playing KFC with him recently, and it will prefer to intervene to your partner first. So, and that's good because Safeguard also gives them a damage reduction buff. So if your partner's in trouble, you can intervene to them, give them a 20% damage reduction, and that's helpful. It'll also get you out of roots and stuff. If you don't have an arena partner nearby, it'll just target whatever's closest, intervene it, and then it'll target your last enemy. So that's a good macro to have to intervene to your friends, keep them safe, and keep you out of roots. Alt Naga button 5 is my Disarm, and Alt Naga button 6 is the exact same thing we just talked about pretty much, except it will intervene to your healer. So I actually don't have the intervene to just friendly here. This is only for my healer. So you can make 100% damn sure that you'll intervene to your healer when they're in trouble, and make sure you get that damage reduction buff on them in case they're having, somebody train them or they need help during a swap or something. So that's really helpful. I'm looking through my other binds. This is an assist macro for RBGs. You put whoever you're playing RBGs with. You put that DK who's calling targets in there. Now I've got a battle standard on here. I've got a love and salute for when people wave at me or love me in BGs or just around. And I've got Symbiosis bound to Naga button 7. My mounts are Shift 1, Shift 2, and this is for my streaming macro, so I can spam people when I'm streaming. But if there's any other questions you've got about arms, warrior macros, or anything like that, please feel free to let me know. I know this has been a long video, but I did want to go through all of my binds and all of my macros, give you guys a comprehensive look at what I'm dealing with. I don't think I've got any other real neat macros to share with you other than the ones I've shown with you. But hopefully these macros set you guys up. If you're just starting out a warrior, hopefully they set you up for an effective and long-lived warrior career. And if there's anybody out there who's been playing a warrior for a while, feel free to check your macros against mine. See if yours are better or you think you could learn anything from mine. I'd be happy to hear from you. But This is what I use. It's been pretty effective for me. Not a lot has changed since 5.1 or 5.2, but you guys have asked, and I'm bringing you the video. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you learned something, maybe, or at least it was entertaining. And thank you so much for watching, guys. And I'll see you next time. Peace!